Robert Farrell never wanted to be a criminal. He just ran out of choices. When the bills piled up, the system failed him, and his family's survival hung by a thread, he built a rocket-powered skateboard and became the Rocket Racer. Now let's get into the video and find out who is Rocket Racer. Robert Farrell grew up in a storm he could never quite escape. As the eldest of 7, he became the de facto parent the moment his father disappeared, a void that shaped every decision that followed. He excelled at Brooklyn High. Robert absorbed engineering like instinct, but when graduation came, he buried his own ambitions to keep his family afloat. The Air Force offered the education he couldn't afford, but fate cut the opportunity short. His mother Emma suffered a heart attack, and the medical debt that followed consumed everything. With bills mounting, siblings relying on him, and the fear of repeating his father's failures, Robert leaned into the one thing he still had, his intellect. He scoured junkyards for parts and built a rocket-powered skateboard, fueled by hydrazine and nitrous oxide, capable of topping 100 miles per hour and running for 75 miles before having to be refueled. Gyroscopes embedded in the wheels, his boots, and his suit let him ride walls and carve impossible angles. A neural-linked headset and radio-synced goggles translated his thoughts into commands, giving him precise control as long as his magnetic boot clamps kept him anchored. His gauntlets carried micro-rockets strong enough to punch through steel, and booster charges that added 20 miles per hour of force to each strike. After countless crashes and close calls, he mastered the gravity-defying maneuvers that fused him to his board. When he emerged from the grind, he carried a new identity, Rocket Racer. His first job seemed simple: grab a security stuffed briefcase from a Wall Street courier and disappear. Instead, Spider-Man snagged his board mid-flight, slamming Robert into a truck and straight into custody. Once released, Robert hired the Tinkerer to overhaul his gear. Then his mother's heart failed again. With debt rising and options shrinking, he took a job from corrupt businessman Jackson Will. He stole incriminating documents for Will, but withheld the most devastating one. The threat of exposure shattered Will. Convinced that the document would destroy his marriage, reputation, and freedom, he spiraled toward taking his own life until Rocket Racer stopped him, not out of compassion, but to protect his payout. That moment twisted into something darker. Given the idea by Rocket Racer himself, Will sought out the Tinkerer, who turned Robert's mocking nickname of Big Will into a weapon. During one of Robert's visits to the hospital to see his mother, he was confronted by Spider-Man. The two battled, and the battle quickly spilled outside, where Rocket Racer surprisingly gained the upper hand on Spider-Man. That's when Big Will rolled onto the scene, coming after Rocket Racer with a vengeance. Spider-Man yanked Robert out of Big Will's path and watched the massive machine careen off the edge and plunge into the Hudson. While Spider-Man dove in after Will, Rocket Racer didn't wait around to see how it ended. He quickly slipped away. Later, Robert's life hit another breaking point. He wound up behind bars, and his mother, along with several neighbors, put their own homes on the line to post bail. Their sacrifice was immediately twisted against them. The corrupt bail bondsman handling the case cornered Robert with an ultimatum: get back into the criminal game or watch his entire family lose everything. Robert dusted off the Rocket Racer identity once more. His return didn't last long. Spider-Man crashed his attempted armored car heist, scattering the stolen cash and leaving Robert empty-handed. That failure put him in even greater danger. The bail bondsman unleashed the bounty hunter to eliminate Robert. Spider-Man stepped in again, giving Robert just enough time to slip away and disappear. Hoping to protect him from the bondsman's wrath, he visited the Farrell household. One of Robert's sisters reluctantly revealed where her brother might be hiding. That trail led Spider-Man to a junkyard, just in time to stop the bounty hunter from killing the Rocket Racer. But Spider-Man was hit with one of the bounty hunter's inertia cartridges, which temporarily drained his powers and left him vulnerable. In a moment that surprised even himself, Robert rushed in and saved Spider-Man from danger. Once the web slinger recovered, he returned the favor, defeating the bounty hunter. Realizing that he couldn't keep running forever, Robert turned himself in to the authorities. When the truth about the bondsman's coercion came to light, the judge handed down a lenient sentence and community service. With his family moving to Harlem for a fresh start, Robert walked away from crime for good. Later, when Spider-Man was framed for robbing millionaire Winston Walker, Rocket Racer joined the Prowler, Puma, and Will-O-the-Wisp to investigate. The Prowler and Rocket Racer wanted to prove that Spider-Man wasn't a thief. Their investigation led them into a fight with Sandman, Spider-Man, and Silver Sable. The battle ended when Silver Sable revealed Spider-Man had acted as her agent to expose Walker's Magia ties. Impressed, she offered all of them future work, and Robert accepted. He retook his high school equivalency exam, aced it flawlessly, and earned a scholarship to Empire State University. On Robert's very first day at ESU, a white supremacist gang led by Eddie Cross assaulted him in front of his mother and terrified sister. Students intervened, but Robert took matters into his own hands and broke out the Rocket Racer gear once again to deal with the white supremacist. He returned to ESU that evening as Rocket Racer, ready for revenge, until Spider-Man was able to convince him to let the police handle it. Eddie and his group were arrested by the police. Eddie retaliated by bombing the Afro-American Studies building and fleeing into Peter Parker's lab, where he grabbed a flask of failed corrosive web fluid. When Robert shattered it with a mini rocket, the fluid dissolved Eddie's skin, transforming him into a gelatinous form. Rocket Racer, feeling guilty and responsible, fled to get a doctor, and Spider-Man chased after him. Unbeknownst to both of them, Eddie was still alive, and now calling himself Skinhead the White Redeemer. He devoured his own followers to satisfy his new hunger, forcing Rocket Racer and Spider-Man to defeat him. Robert's work with Silver Sable Inc. saw him stop the Pack Rats and outmaneuver the villain Speed Demon. His victories convinced Silver Sable to bring Robert into the Outlaws, alongside Prowler and Will-O-the-Wisp. Rocket Racer continues to adventure in the Marvel Universe. Now please give this video a rocket boost by hitting the like button, leaving a comment, and maybe even subscribing. Well, that's the origin of Rocket Racer, and that does it for this one. Thanks for watching. Peace.